Just like Michelangelo into the blue on heavenly wings. Cargo ham bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no strings. I can't take off these dark shades. I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV. Our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane. I remember when the new constellation went transcontinental. It was oh so experimental. I took a ride in a Goonie bug. And when the pilot waves from his little window up high, turn back.
Welcome to Our Town. I'm your host, Larry Frost, and today we're at the Amesbury Police Department with Officer David Clark, who is also a certified child passenger safety technician. Nice to meet you, David.
Thank you, Larry. Pleasure to be here. Hello, and welcome to this segment of Our Town. My name is David Clark. I'm an Amesbury police officer and certified child passenger safety technician. Tonight we'll be talking about car seats, a convertible seat. The third step is a booster seat. And the final step being lap and shoulder belt. And we'll review each step tonight as we go along. So we'll move on to the convertible seat. And this convertible seat, this one happens to be made by Graco as well. This is called the Comfort Sport. It also has a 5-point harness system in it. This one is set up to be a forward-facing seat because the straps are in the highest slot. And whenever a seat is set up for forward-facing, if it has a reinforced bar in the back, such as this one, this hard plastic right here that's wide, okay, that's a reinforcing bar, which will take the stress of a forward crash much better than just an open slot like this, which would be used for rear facing. Okay, that's just an open slot. This is an open slot, but has the reinforced bar behind it to take that stress. So this seat can be set up for rear facing, or it can be set up for forward facing. The downside to this one, if it's rear facing or forward facing, this type of seat remains in the car, as opposed to, of course, the infant carrier, which can be removed from the car and carried with you. So with a rear-facing seat, this leg would be flipped underneath like so it can be tilted back. Again, you're looking for approximately 45 degrees, especially on the newborns. They don't have very good head control, so you want the seat tilted back. So in rear facing, this would look like so if it was put into the vehicle. Again, this one can be installed with latch, or it can be installed with the seat belt, depending on whether or not you have latch in the vehicle. If this was installed forward facing, of course it would be turned around. The leg would be pulled out here to help it sit up straight, and it would look like so when it's in the vehicle seat. This one also has the gauge on the side, and this is a ball that rocks back and forth, and this is only made for rear facing. So if I was to turn this seat back around and return this rear facing, like so, what you're looking for is to get that ball in the green zone right here, and that tells you that the seat is tipped back at a proper angle, so the baby's head will be resting back and not falling forward. In the back of this seat, you'll see what they call the tether belt. I spoke about this earlier, and this is made for forward-facing seats. There are only a couple manufacturers that recommend tethering a seat in rear-facing mode. Britax is 1. So if you have a Britax seat and you're using it rear-facing, it can be tethered to the floor rear-facing. This Graco product, however, Graco does not recommend tethering in rear-facing mode, only in forward-facing. So you would click the belt on, and you would snug up the strap, and what that does is, in a forward crash, it prevents the seat from going forward. It locks it in. It's called head excursion. And that locks it into place. So again, you'll have your anchor point will either be on the back of the seat near the bottom, such as this one, this training seat, or again in a sedan, it could be on the back deck, like so. You'll click it in, snug it back, and tighten it up. Or in some of the smaller SUVs, you could have the anchor point built into the ceiling of the vehicle. So your tether strap will be up like this, hooked in, pull the strap, and get it tight. This particular seat is rated for children from 5 to 40 pounds. Rear-facing, this seat would be used for a child up to approximately 30 pounds. The old rule of thumb used to be a year and 20 pounds, we could turn the child around. And I know it makes it much more exciting for the parent to be able to see the child's face than to be looking at the back of their head all the time. So what the manufacturers and highway safety came up with, they felt it was much safer for the child to remain rear-facing longer. So the old rule of thumb of a year and 20 pounds has been tossed out, and now what they recommend is that you keep the child rear-facing up until the weight limit of that seat in rear-facing mode, and it varies among manufacturers. So always check the label of your seat and see what the manufacturer recommends to keep that child rear-facing. When the child reaches that point, the seat can be turned around forward-facing, and the majority of your seats forward-facing have a strap. The 5-point harness is built for the child up to 40 pounds. So once you reach the 40-pound mark, the child would come out of the convertible seat and move into a booster seat, which is over here on the table. I'll be talking about that in a few minutes. Massachusetts law requires a child under the age of 5 or under 40 pounds to be restrained in a child safety seat. Unfortunately, booster seats are not law in Massachusetts, so a child over 40 pounds does not have to be in a booster seat. They can be secured in the vehicle with just a lap and shoulder belt. This particular seat here is manufactured by Costco. This seat is designed to be rear-facing, forward-facing, and then convert into a booster seat after the child reaches 40 pounds. So once the child reaches 40, the straps could be removed, and then the seat would be installed in the vehicle. I'll show you an example of this one, forward-facing. And the cutouts here are for the lap belt to come across the seat, and the points up here, what you see is a shoulder belt adjustment. There's 3 of them here: the bottom, the middle, and then the top, depending on the height of your child. So if I showed you how that would look, we'll use our sliding latch plate example for that one. And I'll have to, excuse me for a minute here, we'll release that. It would look like so. It would come across the seat, across the open slots here for the lap belt. You would click it in. And then your shoulder belt would be up like so. I'll use the middle one as an example. Slide that in there. There we go. And that's basically what it would look like on when it's installed in your vehicle, with the lap belt coming across here and the shoulder belt. And it's important that when you put the shoulder belt in place, that it not be cutting into the child's neck. That's very uncomfortable. If you have it installed in there and you see that the child takes the shoulder belt and tucks it behind their arm, that's a good sign that it's bothering them. It's in their neck and it's very uncomfortable for them. So when they do that, that's a dangerous situation because it takes the protection of the shoulder belt off their chest and gives them only the safety of the lap belt. So what happens in a forward crash, if they don't have that shoulder belt on and you stop quickly, they're going to bend at the waist. There's nothing to hold them back. So it's always important to make sure that shoulder belt is in place and that they don't take it and tuck it behind their back. There's one feature with this lap and shoulder belt that has the sliding latch plate on it that I wanted to point out to you. A lot of parents are not aware of this. You click this in, and I'll slide it back in here to give you an example of lap and shoulder. You have, built into the floor, you have a retractor on the seat belt, okay? And in its normal position, the belt will be loose like this. It'll move back and forth, okay? If you have a forward-facing seat that you're going to lock in with the lap and shoulder belt, you want to find out if your vehicle has what they call a switchable retractor on it. And to do that, you would pull the shoulder belt out all the way. And then as you let it go back, you hear that clicking sound, and that tells you that it's a switchable retractor. And what it's doing is this retractor pulls the belt back. The belt is locked in. I can pull on this, and it's not going to come back out. It's locking it in. The more I feed it in, the more it locks. So in a forward-facing seat that has been installed with a lap and shoulder belt, if you switch the retractor over and you lock the belt all the way back like this, you're locking the upper portion of the seat in, not only with the lap belt, but with the shoulder belt too. The shoulder belt will help hold it back. Okay, so you want to pull the shoulder belt as hard as you can and feed all of that belt back into the retractor, and that'll help lock the seat in place. And then of course, if you have tether on it, you'll hook the tether belt in and pull that tight as well. If you don't have a switchable retractor, then you'd have to use the locking clip. There are some vehicles out there that the retractor does not switch over. So after the 40 pounds, when they've outgrown the regular strap system on a seat, unless of course it's a Britax seat. The Britax has a rating system of 65 pounds on some of their seats, but most of your seats made in the United States will only go up to 40 pounds. So once they've reached that point and the strap system comes out, they'll go into the booster seat. And this is another version of a booster seat. This is also made by Graco, and this is called the Turbo Booster. And it's adjustable just by squeezing this red handle on the top of the seat, pushing down on it. I can raise and lower the seat to the height of the child. It's important that you have head protection behind the child's ears. So the head, of course, would be inside of here, and you'd raise and lower this as necessary to fit the height of the child. I'll give you an example of what this would look like with a belt going across. We'll say this is the buckle side. It would look like so. Clicked in, and there's your lap belt here. There are two red points on the base of the seat. That's where your lap belt would go across, on the base of the seat right here. And your shoulder belt will come up and go through here or here, depending on which side of the vehicle it's on. And that's a booster seat. Now, it's important that if the child is not riding with you that day in the booster seat, your child's in school, you've gone off grocery shopping, for an example, it's important that the booster seat be clicked into place even if the child's not in the seat. You think about it, when a child's riding in the seat, the child's holding the seat down, the lap and shoulder belt are holding the child and the seat in place. So if the child's not there, the lap and shoulder belt should be hooked across and clicked into place to hold the seat when the child's not riding in the car. The reason for that is if this seat is not hooked in a crash or you jam on your brakes suddenly, this seat could become a projectile in the car. It could fly. And there have been documented cases of people being injured by an unsecured booster seat. So again, be sure that you hook the seat in place even if the child's not riding in the car that day. Now, I'll often get questions from parents. This is the third step in the process, okay? So first step again being the infant seat, the second step being the convertible seat, the third step being the booster seat, and the fourth step being just lap and shoulder belt alone. So I'll often have questions from parents in regards to when can my child come out of the booster seat and go into the lap and shoulder belt? Well, there are 5 different criteria that cover the lap and shoulder belt without the booster seat. Number 1 is the child should be approximately 8 to 9 years of age. Second, the child should weigh approximately about 80 pounds. They should be able to sit back in the seat completely with their back up against the seat. Their legs should bend at the front of the seat and not stick out like so. We'll use the pool noodle as an example. You don't want the legs sticking out like this. They should be able to bend at the seat and go down towards the floor. Okay? If they're able to do that and able to ride in the seat in that position for the length of the ride, it's a pretty good chance that they're going to be able to ride in the seat with just lap and shoulder. You want to make sure that you have the lap belt across the lap and that the shoulder belt is across the shoulder, not into the neck. You want the lap belt across the lap and not into the child's stomach. If it is, in the event of a crash, it could cause some damage. So about 8 to 9 years of age, at least 80 pounds, riding back in the seat, legs bent and not sticking out straight, and shoulder belt on the shoulder, lap belt across the lap. There was one more item here that I have on the table that parents, especially with newborn children, will come in with. This is a retractable shade. And again, this is not, this is a aftermarket product that has not been safety tested, not sold with the seat. And you clip it to the window, you pull it down, it helps to prevent the sun from shining into the window. We do not recommend these. If this was hooked onto the window in the event of a crash and the window was broken, this would become a projectile inside the car. There is a metal rod that comes through this, that passes through, that the shade retracts onto. And say 30, 40 miles per hour in a crash, this comes into the vehicle. Imagine getting this in the head. It's going to hurt. So we do not recommend these retractable shades onto the glass. I think that about covers it. So if you have any questions concerning anything you saw here today, or you have concerns about whether your child's seat is installed correctly in your vehicle, please give me a call here at the police station. The number is 978-388-1212. The checkpoints that I have here at the station, during the winter weather, I have them once a month. During the spring, summer, the checkpoints are held approximately twice a month. It's a 4-hour block of time, and the checkpoints are held here at the police station in the Sally Port. So if it's raining or whatever, weather is not a concern. You're inside the Sally Ports, no problem at all. So I have them run from 10 to 2 and from 1 to 5 in the afternoon, and I vary them back and forth to make sure that parents are able to make it. So give my voicemail call. The checkpoints are listed on my voicemail. Also, if you have internet access at home, you can check out the town website at www.ci.amesbury.ma.us. Once you reach the town's webpage, click on the link for Master Calendar. And my checkpoints are listed on the Master Calendar. Again, they're approximately 2 weeks apart during the summer month. My next one coming up will be March 13th from 10 to 2 here at the police station. So if you're pulling out back here, if there's a line, well, we'll get you through, no problem at all. Process takes about 30 minutes, and not only will your seat be installed correctly, but you'll receive some education about how to secure your child in the seat as well. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank Officer Dave Clark for his great presentation.
Thank you, Larry.
I'd also like to thank Charles Frost, who's a staff writer for the Daily News, for his great article on this particular show. Work hard, stay healthy, and be sure to take time to care for someone. Coming up next will be Relaxing with Nature in Our Town. So please stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Okay? To be just like Michelangelo into the blue on heavenly wings. Cargo ham bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no strings. I can't take off these dark shades. I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV. Our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane. I